If every person you loved either left you or shut down, and the only one who ever looked back and stayed was your little boy, would you really know how to let him grow up? That's Linda, and this is part 7 in our series. My husband never stands up to his mom, and I feel completely ignored. This is the mother-in-law's side of the story, not to excuse what she has done, but to help us understand, what does it feel like to be inside of the body of a woman scared that she is going to be left behind, and the only way she knows how to feel safe is to keep people close. To truly understand, we need to go back to the very beginning. Linda was born in 1966 to Carol and Daryl. Carol was just 19 years old, still a half child herself, and Daryl was 22 and already exhausted by life. They married very young because that's what people did back then. And by the time Linda came along, cracks were already forming. Carol and Daryl, they fought loud and dirty. Both of them came from homes where if you wanted to be heard, you had to yell. So their arguing wasn't gentle. It was slamming doors, cursing, and sometimes you could hear the sound of breaking glass. And when Carol drank, things spiraled out of control quickly. The whole house seemed to just wait, like hold its breath, waiting for the next fight to explode. And because the fights were so frequent, even when the noise would stop, the quiet didn't comfort Linda at all. It was the kind of silence that just made her stomach twist in knots because she knew it wouldn't last very long. This is the house that Linda grew up in when she was just 5. So 5 years old, you guys. Linda woke up after one of those long fights. The air still smelled like beer and something had burned, but she walked down her dark hallway and she could see in the kitchen under the little window, she could see broken glass shattered all over. Now this little girl, she didn't cry for help. She didn't try to go get one of her parents. Instead, she dropped down to her knees and carefully picked every single piece of glass, dropping it one by one into the wastebasket. That night, her little body learned that if I fix it fast, maybe they will stay. When she was 7, they drew a picture at school of their family. So there was a yellow sun, a red house, and then 2 stick figures as parents, and then a little girl standing between them. On her way home, she had the picture pressed to her chest. She was so excited to hang it on the refrigerator. But when she walked in the door, her mom, Carol, was crying on the couch. Linda quickly set the picture down. She went to her mom with her little 7-year-old hand, rubbing circles on her back. "It's okay, I'm here." And her mom's crying softened for a little bit. The picture never made it to the fridge, but that is when Linda realized, okay, if I'm useful, I feel safe. By the age of 10, her dad was packing up to leave for good. She sat on the front porch, watching him load up box after box, listening to her mom sob inside, begging him to stay. And every single time the screen door slammed from him going in and out, her little body just flinched. Even to this day, when a door shuts tight or slams, her shoulders lift before her brain even remembers why it's happening. From those nights, Linda built quiet rules that no one ever said out loud, but she followed them like gospel. Clean up fast, and maybe people will stay. Be useful, and you'll feel safe. And if someone starts to walk away, hold on tighter until they turn back around and stay with you. Now, these rules definitely worked when she was a little girl, like just trying to survive in such a chaotic environment, but they also went on to shape every single relationship she touched. In her early 20s, Linda dated men who looked nothing like her dad from the outside, but felt just like him on the inside. Loud when they drank, sweet when they wanted something, and really mean when they didn't get it. The silence that followed each and every breakup, oh my gosh, felt unbearable. And so when the next guy came along and said the right words, she would just convince herself, okay, this time, this is what love feels like. But then she met David and he was different. He wasn't loud. He wasn't moody. He didn't drink that much. And when she was worried about something, he would just say, you don't have to worry so much. He seemed steady in a way that finally made her body feel like, okay, you can exhale, you can relax. And they met at work, not at a bar. So that was another difference. He was quiet, but polite. He didn't talk too much. He didn't promise big things. But unfortunately, what Linda didn't realize was that his calm, what she felt was calm. It wasn't actually connection. Like David had no clue about feelings. That's why he didn't fight. He didn't fight with her because he didn't know what to fight about. He was literally avoiding certain topics, but she just thought, okay, this is peace. This is safety. This is everything I've ever dreamed about. And the silence that was was always there between them, even in the beginning, she filled happily. She shared stories. She shared too much, just trying to prove like, we can make this work. 2 years later, when David finally proposes, she screams yes without hesitation. I mean, she feels like she is choosing peace after a lifetime of storm. She's finally going to be safe and happy, but peace built on silence honestly has an expiration date because you're not actually connecting. It feels calm, but there's really no closeness. And that feeling can feel just as lonely as the chaos ever did. But then something happens. Linda becomes a mother. Linda was 26 when she had little Ben, and she remembers the hum of the machines in the room, the smell of the antiseptic, the nurse saying, "He's here," and then the weight of having him in her arms, this tiny little boy looking up at her like she was the whole world. Something inside of her just unclenched. It was the first time in her life that Linda truly felt safe. Like she didn't say it out loud, but her heart was making this quiet promise, like, you will never leave me. She was making that promise to her son. At home, she rarely let him get out of her sight. She rocked him for hours. She listened to him breathing. She would kiss his little forehead just to make him move. David still worked long hours. He was gone most nights. So it's just Linda and baby Ben, like curled up on the couch in the dimly lit living room. And she would say things like, "You're my everything. You're my whole heart. It's just us, buddy." And that's when this tiny little baby became Linda's big anchor. As Ben grew, she poured everything into this kid. Every birthday party, every project, every scraped knee. Linda was the first and last to be with him. When he smiled at her, she got that same warm rush like in her heart, like she did in the hospital room. But at 13, when she was approached by the basketball coach saying like, "Ben should really try out," oh my gosh, she just panicked inside of her body. She smiled, said thank you, but later cried in the driveway with Ben. She's like, "I can't be in this house without you." And Ben, being Ben, skipped the tryouts and hung out with his mom instead. At 17, when an out-of-state college letter arrived, Linda told Ben, "Wow, I'm so proud of you." And then she whispered, half joking, but really not joking, "I don't know if I can survive if you ever leave me." And again, he chose a college close to home. She told everybody he just loves being home, but really deep down, she took it as he just really loves me. This type of love from the outside can look like, oh, wow, they're super close. They're a very connected family. But truly, this all is acts of desperation and survival. Linda is not trying to hinder Ben's growth. She is simply trying to hang on to literally the only person who has ever made her feel like she matters. But then Ben falls in love. Ben was 20 when he brought Sarah home to meet his mom, and Sarah's warm eyes and her relaxed smile just filled the kitchen without even trying. Linda wiped her hands clean. She had made all of Ben's favorites. She told herself, okay, I'm doing this because I want to welcome Sarah. But really, she was hoping to maintain that place of being a part of the story. But when they walked in and Ben had his hand on Sarah's lower back, whoo, that hit Linda deep. She had no idea that was going to hit her so deep. And she whispered in her head, oh my gosh, like this is the woman he listens to now. So she turned it on. She smiled bigger, leaned in harder, asked 100 questions, told childhood stories, laughed probably a little too loud, really just tried to recreate that feeling of being the center of Ben's gaze. Now to Sarah, this looked totally normal. She felt amazing. If you remember from her story, all she wanted was love that felt easy because her belief was love needs to be hard. So she was just soaking it all up. But to Linda, she was panicking. She was really scared. So she was trying to create a bond really fast with Sarah so she could quiet her fears of being pushed aside. That night, she hugged him goodbye, told Sarah she was welcome anytime. Later, she sent a text, "You're such a joy." And when the text reply didn't come back fast, Linda's stomach just clenched. And then when they finally replied, like, "Thank you," she exhaled so hard that she actually got dizzy. I just want to pause here and talk about love bombing because that's what I just described. Linda was love bombing Sarah, and you will see that over the next year. That's what she's doing. On the internet or on social media, it is typically talked about like it's malicious and pathological and psychotic. Rarely is that the case. Rarely do people know that they're even doing it. It is an unconscious way that they try to secure attachment because of their attachment traumas. Like they are scared. And so they are coming in hot with these big gestures because they just want to have connection. It is not out of malice. It is not trying to be manipulative. Like, yes, there are those cases, but it is so rare, you guys, and it is very, very unlikely. So if you experience love bombing, it's most likely in the camp of people trying to connect fast and hard, like build this bond really quickly because they're starving for connection and they just want to be loved. After she met Sarah, it looked amazing from the outside. She would call, check in. They did a lot of things together. But if you could feel what's going on with Linda's body, she's hanging on by a thread, you guys. For example, every time she wasn't included, oh my gosh, panic, just pure panic washed all over her body. It was awful. And then when they would include her, it just felt like she was finally getting air after being held down underwater. But then came the ring. When the diamond ring was still new on Sarah's finger, Sarah called Linda first. Linda was in the grocery store holding a carton of eggs. Her hand started shaking so bad, she actually had to set the eggs down. She told Sarah, "I'm so thrilled," told Ben, "You chose well." She meant every word. But when the conversation ended, the joy quickly faded away and this buzz under her skin just started to fill her entire body. And it felt like, okay, a door is closing and I have no way to keep it open. From the start, Sarah leaned into Linda's warmth because she loved it. She wanted to feel like she belonged. And Sarah had always imagined an outdoor wedding, but when Linda sent her a picture of this brick church, said, "Hey, Ben was baptized here. It would mean a lot to us if you got married here, especially Grandma." Sarah said yes. And she couldn't see Linda, but Linda pressed the picture to her chest and she kind of felt that buzzing under her skin, that fear of the door closing on her. She felt that settle down a little bit. She quickly took out her phone, snapped a picture of it, posted it in the family group chat. She said yes. And that stream of hearts and reactions from family members, including Ben and Sarah, just kind of felt like a little Xanax, a little soft sedative. It calmed her down. The guest list grew kind of the same way. Sarah, she's private. She's more introverted. She wanted a small, simple wedding, but Linda offered to help with the names. I'll just add some names. So she added cousins, second cousins, people who felt like family. Sarah just said yes, 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 again, to gain that approval because that approval felt like love and belonging. And that night, Linda called her sister, retelling the story through tears, like everyone's going to be included. Her chest just loosened. She felt really good, especially when her sister validated her. Like, of course, everyone's going to be included. Sarah understands this is our family and this is what family does. So getting approval from others tends to silence the alarm when you're really scared of being left out. And that's why Linda's always looking for this reassurance, whether it's from Ben, Sarah, or other family members, or even social media. Dress shopping was the first time that Sarah started to feel bad, but still agreed with Linda's decision. Sarah came out wearing a simple dress that felt like hers. Linda's eyes were watery, and with tears, she's like, "Okay, it's beautiful, dear, but I believe Ben deserves to see you in something more special." She lifted a ballroom gown and whispered, "Oh, just try this on for him." The saleswoman actually clapped. And then when she came out, Linda snapped a pic, put it in the family group chat, and the family all cheered like, "Oh my gosh." And she said, "We found it. We found the dress." And instead of Sarah putting up a fuss, keeping the dress that felt like her, she went along with Linda because she felt like that was more important. 2 months before the wedding was the first real fight. Sarah wanted a buffet. It was good for their budget and just their style. They just wanted a more relaxed style. Linda absolutely pitched a fit. She froze and her body pushed before she could even realize what she was saying. She's like, "Sarah, a buffet? Oh my gosh, you're being selfish for Ben's wedding. What are people gonna think? This is also a celebration for our family too. I can't believe you." But this time Sarah didn't cave. She actually stood firm, stunned for sure, and said, "But this is our wedding." Linda's cheeks instantly got red. They were hot. She felt the ground tilt. Being direct has always been very scary. In fact, she would often get punished as a little girl for asking for what she needed or being direct. So quickly she backtracked and went more towards helpful topics, just dropped it all together. But that night, She gave the heat to Ben because she knows like, oh, he'll carry it for me because this is what we've always done. And he did. That night, he went to Sarah trying to smooth things over. My mom just wants it to be perfect. She's dreamed of my wedding for years. Can we please just do the sit down and make everybody happy? Sarah said, but it's our wedding, Ben. Ben took a breath in and said the line that always closes the door. Well, she's helping pay. I just want to make everybody happy, Sarah. So Sarah agreed. Not because she wanted to, but because she was exhausted and didn't want to lose warm Linda. Linda didn't gloat or anything. She just felt that alarm in her chest drop and the ringing in her ears fade and her thoughts slow down because, again, she felt center of everything. This was a big moment, a wedding, and she felt like she was making all the decisions. She was in control, and that control made her feel safe. Before the buffet fight, Linda's approach to being central to the wedding planning was really sweet and helpful. So she would bring up things, suggestions like, instead of only roses, could we add peonies, the grandma's favorite? And every single yes from Sarah made Linda feel like, okay, I still matter. I'm still important. Like, I'm okay. This door isn't shut. On the wedding day, Linda stood up to toast this lengthy thing talking about her precious boy. Ben is perfect. I hope his bride will take care of him the way that his mother always did. She barely said Sarah's name, and she wasn't trying to be mean. She wasn't trying to erase her at all. She was just trying to not disappear herself. They leave for their honeymoon, and the first night, Linda's good. Doesn't bother him. The second night, it's just getting to be too much. So she types a message, deletes it, types it, deletes it, and then finally settles on a simple message, miss you too, hope you're having a magical time. And then she's staring at the screen, and when Ben quickly responds, her shoulders drop. But when he doesn't, that's when that old panic rises up. And without even thinking, she reaches for what she knows. She gets her phone, taps his name, calls him up, and just talks about nothing. The weather, a silly memory, a flight detail, just anything to hear his voice, because that is the fastest way she has learned how to breathe or how to calm herself down, is just from hearing Ben's voice. Now the honeymoon ends, but these new phone habits, like calling Ben all the time, they actually come home with them. And what once felt like closeness and love now starts to feel suffocating, overwhelming, and like Sarah is being managed. Back from the trip, Linda told herself, okay, give them space. They need to settle in. But space to someone like Linda feels like danger. So mornings felt good. She started calling him in the morning, Ben in the morning. Then she was texting. Then she started calling at night. But when Ben didn't answer, oh my gosh, that alarm rose. And it was just like crazy in her body, that buzzing. So she would call again and again and again until he picked up. And it wasn't to be controlling. It was truly, she was worried and wanted to make sure her kid was okay. But as soon as he answered, she would calm down. That buzzing would quiet a little bit. But on the nights that he didn't and time would pass, the thoughts that would race in her head, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? What did Sarah tell him? Are they pushing me out for good? It was really hard for her. Sometimes she would just show up unannounced. She was in the neighborhood. She would bring soup, nice things for Sarah, favorite treats for Ben. She would straighten up things on their counter, move things around in her kitchen. She would tell herself, of course, that she's doing this so everything is easier for Sarah, but inside she was truly trying to just keep a foothold in a house that no longer was answering to her. When Linda would have dinner with them and Sarah's food was a little bland, she would say, oh, I'll teach you how to, kick it up a notch, how Ben likes it. Or when Ben would look tired, she would tell Sarah, he needs 9 hours of sleep. She wasn't trying to criticize. She was just trying to stay central the only way she knew how, which was feeling like she mattered. Like, I really know him and I'm just trying to help. But it definitely came across as obviously criticism and judgment. I want you to know that the Lindas of the world, when they're doing that, they're not trying to cut you on purpose. It's the only way they know how to try to steady themselves when the floor feels like it's tilting, they feel out of control. They're just trying to push themselves like, I'm the expert, I'm still relevant, I'm still needed, like you still need me. They're just trying to calm down their system. When they said they were ready to start looking for a house, Linda's heart lifted. It meant, okay, if you're going to buy a house, that means you're planting roots, and roots means you're not going to drift too far away. So she told herself, I'm only going to help. And she truly believed it. But underneath this good intention was Linda's body being busy trying to draw a map to make sure wherever they did plant their roots, it was close enough for her to always reach her son. She came to every single showing, and she would stand in the doorway. And if the house was outside of her orbit, the reasons why they shouldn't buy this house lined up like little soldiers, creating this barrier like, don't pick this one. Too far away from family, kitchen is too small, yard, oh, what a terrible yard. Busy street, poor resale value. And then came the money offer. She offered to help with a down payment if it was the right house. So she had rules. It had to be no more than 20 minutes from her house for emergencies only, bigger than what they wanted, bigger than what they were planning, because Ben deserves the best and you're going to obviously have a growing family. And it had to have the right school district, even though Sarah wasn't even close to becoming pregnant. But Linda believed in every one of these reasons. And that's why it landed. She would text the family group chat, we may finally have them nearby, and that quick flood of emojis would just kind of calm her down, steady her breathing a little bit, because to her, approval, proximity, and a plan feels like oxygen. Like when you have lived constantly fearing that doors are going to close, this feels really good to feel like, yes, we're moving in a direction that I feel comfortable with. You're going to be close enough for me to reach. And that's just what happened. They bought the big house 12 minutes away from Linda's driveway, literally 12 minutes away. And on paper, it looked practical, like it was a practical win. In Linda's body, it felt like a soft lullaby. But for Sarah, it felt like she was losing herself. She was losing ground, because this was the first major decision of her life that her opinion mattered zero. And then came the pink line. Ben told his mom right away when Sarah found out she was pregnant. And all Linda thought was, oh, a grandbaby? Oh, it was like light just opened up into her room that had been dim for years. Her hands started to shake, her face was hot, and the story began to write itself. Her second chance to be central, to pour love into something without being told it was too much, to belong again in a way that no one could argue with. She said all the right things. She said she was thrilled. She blessed them over the phone. But after they hung up, that house went very still. And stillness has never been kind to Linda. As the quiet spread, that old fear rose up that other people were going to tell the story first, and that she was going to be on the outside again, that she would be late to her own family. So she reached for what calms her nervous system, like a nervous system like hers, the fastest way possible. She grabs her phone, she opens up the app, chooses a soft photo, types out a line without even slowing down and letting herself think. She types out, our family is growing, and she hits post. The screen lit up. All the notifications, the hearts, the congratulations, everything rushed in. And with every ping, it was like the pressure in her chest dropped. Every ping, ping. We should talk about this for a second. Research will call this an anxious system, just trying to seek relief. Linda would say, I'm just trying to spread my joy. Both can be true at the same time. The pain and the hurt lands the same way. Sarah found out her relatives knew she was pregnant by them contacting her. So a moment that was supposed to be hers now belonged to a crowd. From that day, the pregnancy became Linda's world. She woke up thinking about vitamins and naps and nursery paint colors and baby names, and every hour in between, she was just trying to think of ways to prove her love by protecting the baby. No caffeine, not even a drop. I only gained 22 pounds with Ben. Don't gain too much weight. He was super healthy. Listen to classical music all the time. Look how Ben is so smart. It works. All of these were metrics that she truly thought, okay, I'm just trying to help keep this baby safe. And it was out of love. But to Sarah, obviously, these all landed very differently. On calm days when Linda felt connected and not threatened, she would show up with Sarah's favorite items, soft blankets, glossy magazines. Just the kind of care that felt like a hug for someone like Sarah. But on days where she felt like she was getting pushed out of center, that's when the comparisons and criticisms, they would slip out sharp and fast. Then Linda bought the crib, the stroller, the car seat, and more. She would say, I'm not trying to take over. These things are really expensive. I want to bless you guys. I want to treat you. But underneath, it seriously was a visible anchor for her, because to her, if I provide these big things, there's an undeniable place for me still in this family. The baby shower swelled like the wedding had. Sarah again wanted small, intimate, wanted to be able to talk to everybody. Linda said, you'll hurt everyone's feelings. They'll feel left out. So Sarah bent, she agreed, and the baby shower, again, felt like nothing like her. When the delivery room talk came up, Linda reached for history. Well, I was there when Ben was born. Like, I need to be there. When that didn't work, she's like, well, I'm the grandma. Don't I have a right to be there? But throughout it all, what was really consistent was the way that Linda used triangulation. She would say warm things to Sarah, but then give her fears to Ben, so that he would take that burden, not know what to do with it, carry it over to Sarah and dump it there. Things like, well, I just don't want anything to happen to the baby. And then Ben's promise to talk to Sarah would calm down her buzzing underneath her skin for just a few hours at night. She texted in the family chat how overwhelmed new mothers can be, and then the replies would roll in about how lucky Sarah is to have such great help with Linda. And with each and every ping, Linda's shoulders dropped just a fraction of an inch. Like, all of this feedback, all of this external validation and affirmation definitely helps settle down a system like Linda's, because she can't self-soothe. Mother-in-laws like Linda that fall into this camp see pregnancy as if it's a holy assignment and a second chance. And because it feels holy, she pushes harder. She tells herself that she's just protecting the baby, and in many ways she is, but she's also protecting that feeling of terror of being unnecessary in a family that she built herself. That is why her voice sometimes gets sharp about the coffee, the weight, the music, or that the nursery is filled with choices that Sarah didn't make. That is why the posts are made before the parents can even think about making them. It is about control, quieting the fear, and when it's quiet feels safe. To us right now, this feels overwhelming, suffocating, intrusive, just too much. Back off. But to moms like Linda, she feels like she is preventing a loss. The call came in just after dawn. Ben was so excited, but you could also tell he was nervous. It's happening, Mom. She's in labor. Linda's whole body lit up. She stood up so fast that the chair actually scraped on the floor and knocked over. Her hands were shaking. She felt that mixture, that old familiar mixture of joy pouring in, but also fear. And before Ben could even say another word, it just spilled out. Ben, are you sure you don't want me there? I just want to make sure everybody is safe. I'll stand in the corner. I'll be quiet. I won't bother anyone. I promise. And Ben reassured her, no, Mom, we got this. I'll call you the moment the baby arrives. Sitting in her kitchen, Linda was promising herself, don't text them. Don't text them. Leave them alone. She was trying to convince herself not to do it. But that silence, again, it's not her friend. So she would send a heart to the group chat, and then the prayer hands, and then a quick sentence, you've got this. Each tiny action turned down the volume just a little for a minute, but then the silence that followed turned everything back up. So then she called him. She called Ben. How far along are the contractions? She asked, as if knowing the minutes between contractions could tell her whether she was about to be left out of the family, like her own family story. He said they were okay. Again, he was going to call her afterwards. But to her, after that space, that silence, it literally felt like she went off a cliff. She thought about the delivery room, much like a child who is locked out of their home during a storm. If she could just get to the other side and see with her own eyes that everyone was still breathing, no one was slipping away, her body would let her sit down. This wasn't about control, not in her mind anyway. It was about proximity that feels like medicine. Touch calms her down. It proves that she doesn't have anything to be scared of. And that is what motherhood reinforced with her. As soon as she could hear from Ben, she was fine. As soon as she could kiss him, she was fine. As soon as she could touch him, she was fine. And now she felt like she was locked out. So she tried a softer angle. She reached out and she asked, are you sure you don't want me just to be in the hallway? I won't come in. I'll just be nearby. She pictured herself sitting in that uncomfortable plastic chair, holding a vending machine coffee, the door in view, and the promise of being needed, like she was close enough to touch. But Ben's voice dropped. Mom, like Sarah needs quiet right now. Like he wasn't being unkind, but he was also avoiding, like he always does, when two people in his life that he loves the most want different things. Linda nodded into the phone, even though Ben couldn't see her. Of course, honey. Yes, yes. Whatever you think is best. And the second she hung up with Ben, she called her sister and cried. She did not say anything about they're shutting me out. She said, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And her sister said all the right things. You're going to be there soon. They're going to need you any moment. You're going to get your turn. You are going to be such a good grandma. She got off the phone with her sister, posted in the family group chat, not on social media this time. She definitely learned from that. She said, big day, prayers up and the hearts stacked up. And with every little ping, her chest loosened just for a minute. Hours later, which felt like eternity for Linda, Ben finally sent a picture of baby Emma. And Linda looked at the picture, she kissed it, and then she made a promise, like, I wasn't there for your first breath, but I promise you, I will be there for many, many, many other firsts. At the hospital the next day, Linda floated between glowing and shaking. She washed her hands so thoroughly for the longest time, waiting to be waved in. She stepped in so softly as if she's entering a peaceful chapel. And when they placed Emma in her arms, her whole body exhaled the same way it had when she held Ben. This is what firsts do for women like Linda. Firsts are not about winning. They're about grounding. They're the first hold, the first bottle, the first bath. Each one is a small anchor that says you still belong, you're still needed, and no one closed the door. So she asked to feed the baby the first bottle. She said it very sweetly and she meant it, but she also meant, please allow me to stitch myself into this moment. And when Sarah hesitated, she quickly added, only it will help you if it will help you rest, dear. I just want to be helped, not trying to step on any toes. And Ben felt that old pain of fix mom fast. Oh, Sarah, you should really nap. Like, let's just let her do it. So with Emma in her arms, they gave her the bottle. And as soon as she had that bottle in her hands stopped shaking. Later in the quiet room, the warm Linda was glowing. She folded tiny clothes, wiped the counters, kissed Sarah's forehead, told her she was doing such a beautiful job. The sad thing is when Sarah looks vulnerable or small, Linda feels confident or big enough to relax. Once Sarah and Ben got baby Emma home, Linda started worrying about the strangest things. I don't think the latch is good. Is she latching on right? Ooh, that swaddle might be kind of tight. Is the room a little hot in here? I think the baby might be overheating. There were soft suggestions to Sarah, but if Sarah didn't change course, Linda went to Ben. So she would say things like, oh, Ben, I don't mean to worry you. I know you have so much on your plate, but I just can't sleep thinking about the baby's X, Y, and Z. And so she would whisper it and she would put the weight on Ben's shoulders, knowing very well that he would bring it to Sarah. Now, this is triangulation. It is when you have something you need done, you feel like something has to be done. The person that needs to do it isn't listening. So you put it on the person's shoulders that can't handle it. And then they translate your message to the person that needs to make the change in the first place and dumps it on them. So it just comes from a different person and it makes change happen. It seems very manipulative and scheming, but truly in Linda's case and mother-in-laws like her, deep down underneath her awareness, she is still trying to remain relevant. She is still trying to show Ben, show Sarah, you still need me and your story because I don't think you really know what you're doing. So it's coming across as criticism, but truly she is trying to stay helpful because remember when she was 7, when she wanted that picture of the yellow sun, red house and her family on the fridge, but she came home and found Carol crying on the couch. And she learned in that moment that if I'm useful, like I feel safe, that's what she's trying to do in this moment. By the time Emma was ready for daycare, Linda had already picked out a place for her. She had been picturing it for months. She went and toured it again, taking pictures of the bright, cheerful rugs, the cubbies with, all the labels on it, sent it in the family group chat. This is going to be perfect. Emma's going to get special attention. And then each heart that was stacking on top of each other from the family members just kind of turned that volume of worry down for Linda. But she didn't know Sarah had already picked another spot, one that matched their schedule, and it felt like their decision. Linda's chest felt like fire. So she went to Ben right away and came off really caring, because it truly is her caring. Honey, I'm just so worried. I know that this place, the one I picked out, is going to be much better for Emma. She's going to get one-on-one attention. You have to trust me. I just know in my gut, this is the place for Emma. I understand Sarah believes her place is better. You got to trust me on this. So it's coming out as care, but underneath all that, this is again a way to anchor herself. Like, this is a big milestone. This is a big moment. And if I get to choose this, it's proof that I still matter and I'm still needed. But for once, Ben tried to set a line. I mean, it wasn't good. It wasn't real, but he tried to stand up for Sarah. He just said, Mom, she's doing the very best she can. We're going to try this one out. It was just that little. It wasn't a hard line. We're not going to talk about it again. But when he told her no, and he refused to carry the message to Sarah, the ground again tilted, and it was like she was back when that college letter showed up. He was 17 years old, and that threat of him going out of state, being pulled away from her, that's what it all felt like to her. Like, this moment felt like, I am being pushed out and I'm going to be left behind. When the call ended with Ben, Linda almost said a lot of things. She was looking at the photos of the daycare on her phone. She almost texted Sarah a long message about safety ratings and ratios. She almost called her sister for backup to try to get other people to pile on. She almost posted something vague about mothers knowing best, but she did none of those things that day. Instead, she put her phone down, stood at the kitchen sink, and she let the fear, like the wave of fear, just for once, roll over or roll through her body. I'm trying to help us understand Linda, mother-in-laws like Linda, so that we grow our compassion. But I want you to know that compassion does not erase the harm and pain that they have caused. It doesn't erase the love either. Linda truly believes that she is acting out of love, like she is trying to keep everybody safe. And she's using the only tools that she learned how, which is closeness and control. Next, we're invited to Emma's 3rd birthday. Big day, big celebration, and it should be that. But instead, it turns into a moment that changes absolutely everything for this family. Emma is 3, and the backyard is strung with pink paper butterflies that sparkle in the sunlight. Linda is standing in the grass with a cup of lemonade, smiling so wide her cheeks actually hurt. And when it's time to cut the cake, Linda taps her glass and gives a speech. She means every word of it. She calls Emma my baby girl, says that she's just like Ben when he was little, and her voice goes soft. It's full of pride. She barely says Sarah's name, not because she's trying to erase her again, just like the wedding, but because fear actually narrows our vision. It literally puts blinders on, and it makes us choose whichever path helps us hang on. Shortly after the speech, little Emma took a tumble and she came crying, running for comfort to Sarah. Linda instinctively stepped between mom and child, opened her arms and said, "Come to Grandma. Grandma will make everything better." But when Emma pressed her face into her mother's neck, something clenched inside Linda's chest, the way that it used to when a door would shut and she knew that person wasn't coming back. Linda felt it. She tried to laugh it off, kept moving, and she went and cut the cake. After Emma's party, the line went quiet. Replies that used to come right away from Sarah, just within minutes, drifted into hours. Calls went to voicemail. Plans were answered with one calm sentence, no extra emojis to soften anything. Sarah was pulling away, and Linda's body, like in her body, distance always is perceived as danger. And then came Mother's Day. Sarah and Ben decided that they were going to start their own tradition. A slow morning at home, just the 3 of them, pancakes, pajamas, a walk to the park, and then a celebration with Linda the following Saturday. Ben said, "Okay, I'll tell my mom." When Linda heard that, her chest went hot. Not on the day sounds like I'm not important. And that fear that always sleeps in her bones snapped awake. She ordered a bouquet of flowers, wrote on a note, and got a gift certificate to Sarah's favorite salon saying, to my favorite daughter-in-law, get yourself pampered. Can't wait to see you for our traditional Mother's Day brunch. And Sarah texted back a very warm thank you. We'll celebrate with you next Saturday at 2. We're so excited to make it all about you. And the line didn't move. So Linda tried proof and plans because sometimes actions like that can quiet panic. She texted in in the family group chat, I just booked our usual brunch. They said they would give us the big round table in the middle. Totally not true, but sometimes details can make it harder for people to say no. Ben calls Sarah on the side, begging her, can we please just split the day? Some of the time with my mom and relatives and the other time with us having our quiet morning. And Sarah answered very gentle and very calm. We're doing our new routine, a quiet morning at home. We're spending next Saturday with your mom. I hope you join us on the plan, but I know you'll do what's best for you. The next day, she invented a health crisis. Grandma's not doing well, Ben. I actually think this could be her last Mother's Day, which there was definitely truth in it, but that wasn't her true intention. So Ben, worried and obviously feeling really guilty, goes back to Sarah and he's like, please, could we just do it? Just give it this year. Like, what if my grandma dies? I will feel so bad. And Sarah felt that old pull too, but she took a deep breath and she said, next Saturday, all hers, Ben, and we're going to make it super special for her. I promise. Once warm Linda didn't work, she widened the circle and she recruited family. So family began to post things on social media, past years, captions about showing up for your people, traditions keep us close. Aunts were texting Sarah, can't wait to hug you at brunch. Cousins popping in her DMs, we're so excited to see you. None of it was nasty. None of it was hasty, but it was definitely pressure. Ben wobbled the way sons like this do when guilt is the oldest language that they know. He asked again the next day, what if we just stop by after pancakes? The next morning, what if we move our park plans? And again at lunch, he's like, what if we just do this one thing so that she doesn't fall apart? Each and every time, Sarah answered steady, like a drum beat, kind and clear, the exact same way so that she could try to calm down his nervous system. Linda felt like this plan was a shut door, so she reached for everything. She sent a framed photo of the family with family forever etched in the bottom and a handwritten note that said, keeping our traditions. Sarah sent a sweet, brief reply, but didn't trade her mourning. The day before, the family group chat just exploded. The aunt inserted a graphic that said something like Mother's Day brunch, family table saved. Comments and everything were just stacking fast. Emojis, wouldn't miss it for the world. See you all there. But there was one line that literally felt like a pebble inside Sarah's shoe. It means so much when young ones honor their elders. Ben carried his phone to Sarah with pleading eyes, asking one last time, please, Sarah, they think we're coming. She calmly touched his arm and said, they can think things and we can still do our plan. On Sunday morning, Linda's just watching her phone, waiting for the text that's always sent the morning of little Emma in her paper crown, Ben's arm around his two girls with 3 hearts as the caption. But nothing came. And Linda is just feeling like she's that little girl. She's 10 years old again, sitting on the porch, listening to that screen door slam every time her dad went in and out, loading up boxes to pull away from her forever. And just without her even realizing it, her hands just started to shake uncontrollably. Right then, she almost called Sarah. She almost posted something a little bit vague about being kept away. She almost texted Ben, if I'm not wanted, like I'll bow out. Like these threats sounded like, it would relieve her a little bit. But she didn't do any of it. She didn't do nothing. She put the phone down. She went to her sink, washed a clean mug, and started crying without making a sound. By noon, all the brunch photos from the family were populating online. Cousins smiling, French toast towers, grandma's in her new blouse. And under one of the photos, there was a caption that said, some traditions are worth protecting. That afternoon on Mother's Day, Sarah texted Linda the picture of Emma in her little paper crown, holding a card that says, see you Saturday, Grandma. The words just kind of felt like a warm hug. Saturday came, Sarah was ready. She had flowers ready. Emma had practiced a song just for Grandma. The table was set with Linda's favorite lemon bars. Linda walked in. She was holding her breath, a smile that looked like it was just stitched on in the car. She hugged Emma first, then Sarah, and for 2 hours, she tried to show up as her warm self. She was definitely putting on a performance because she was still really hurt, really scared. Twice fear slipped out, like maybe next year we could do Sunday together again, or I booked the place just in case. And twice Sarah wrapped the words in kindness and handed them back to Linda, saying, I know change is hard, but we really love our new tradition, but I promise we will always make your day extra special because that's how important you are to us, Linda. This all looks like a family navigating some change, but inside Linda's body, she's terrified because it feels like she's learning to breathe in a completely new way. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at Linda in real pain, and it is her pain. It's been here long before Ben, long before Sarah, long before Emma. It's a childhood full of slammed doors, heavy rules like fix it fast, maybe they'll stay, be useful, and you'll feel safe. And she has used these rules as an adult to keep herself feeling safe because distance feels like danger. Sarah and Ben cannot change Linda. They can love her, they can include her, they can choose kind boundaries, but they cannot make her feel safe from the inside. Only she can do that. Change like this requires a lot of skills that many emotionally immature parents, they don't have. Self-reflection, a distress tolerance, a respect for boundaries, the ability to take accountability, and being able to not triangulate, just to talk directly to people. That's too scary. That means danger to them. And when these skills are not available because they weren't modeled or nurtured as the child is growing, some people are not therapeutically available right now. They can attend therapy, but therapy only works when someone can notice their inner state, they can stay in the room when the feelings get really intense and hard, and they can practice different choices between sessions. Without any of that, therapy just turns into telling their side of the story and really trying to recruit the therapist into supporting their version of reality. What can actually help Sarah and really Ben? You have to accept that you can't fix Linda's fear, but you can stop carrying it. That means you exit the triangle. You expect escalation, hold one calm plan, and you ground yourself before you respond. Boundaries that work with mother-in-laws like Linda use my framework. Connect, limit, benefit. First, you tell her how important she is, how much she means to you. Then you state your limit, and then you tell her how this is going to benefit her. And you can check out my masterclass that I did. I'll pin it somewhere here. We write for over an hour scripts together, so you can really get a feel for how this format works and why it would land so softly and kindly with someone like her. I want to end this by remembering 5-year-old Linda. After she gets awoken by Carol and Daryl having one of those angry fights in the middle of the night, once it quiets down, she sneaks out of her bedroom. She walks down the dark hallway into the kitchen where she sees shiny, sparkly shards of glass all over. And if you're a parent, I want you to imagine your 5-year-old not calling out for help, not coming and waking you up, but instead taking it upon themselves to get down on their hands and knees and clean up the adult mess. And the rule that she learned that night was fix it fast and maybe they'll stay. I have so much compassion for mother-in-laws like Linda. I hope you can feel that in this video. I rewrote this script 8 times. I've spent so many hours on it. It's probably the biggest podcast I've ever done in terms of time spent planning it. And it's because if I could leave anything behind with like my online presence, it would be to impart onto you my perspective of her, which is she is a scared little girl that has very few tools to figure out how to keep herself feeling safe. And whenever she feels triggered or that she's going to be left behind or abandoned, she uses these behaviors or tactics that are really hurtful to you. But to her, she's doing it because she's scared, not because she wants to hurt you. She's not trying to hurt you. She's not trying to be malicious or psychopathic like a lot of people try to paint her as. She's not. She's a scared child still looking for connection, still looking to just be loved. That's what we're dealing with here. So if you have, okay, I don't want to get emotional. If you have an overbearing mother-in-law, I want you to look at her. After you watch this, I want you to look at her through fresh eyes. I know she's caused a lot of pain. I know she's caused a lot of stress. It's so frustrating. but I want you to see her and her behaviors for what they actually are. She has the worst rap online. Like, we have painted her into this monster. But I hope I have done this story justice by showing you that she doesn't feel like a monster inside. She doesn't feel like she's trying to be controlling. She just feels like she's trying to have the only one who ever looked back and made her feel like she mattered. She's just trying to have him stay. That's what she's trying to do. Is it unhealthy? God, yes. Has it done so much damage? For sure. It's undeniable. She didn't knowingly do this, though. That's what I want us to all understand. And I also, all the responses of online where it's like, well, if I went to therapy and fixed it, how come she can't? It's because of all the reasons I said. Some people are not therapeutically available. And I'm telling you this as a person that's practiced therapy for nearly 15 years. If I'm sitting across from somebody who can't self-reflect, can't take any accountability, and they only come in over and over for me to buy into their story, what are we doing? It's not beneficial. All they're going to get if the therapist buys into it is, well, now I even have a professional telling me I'm right. So it's just not as easy as that. And sometimes they can learn these skills, sometimes they can't. I think the final answer is acceptance. Acceptance for who your mother-in-law is, grieving the mother-in-law you didn't get, figuring out what boundaries you want, learning how to communicate them softly, because she does feel like she's being slighted when you set a line. And if you can deliver it the way my framework does, she won't feel like you're pushing her away. She won't feel like distance is growing. She'll feel like, okay, I mean, this kind of feels weird, but it also feels like you're really thinking about me. And that's what my boundary script does. That's what they do. So I'm going to leave you here. I hope if you want to go deeper with the scripts, I'll see you in that masterclass. I really, truly hope you see Linda and maybe even your overbearing mother-in-law in a new light because of her story.